for our presentation with Kevin Wilson. Well, most of you, I imagine all of you, were in the sanctuary, so I don't need to do another introduction of him. He is known as the CEO of Chai, but he's coming to us to share about how we can be able to use our giftings for the cause of Christ. As he is coming, I just want to remind you that indeed we are going to be having one-on-ones with our presenters on tomorrow morning. Sunday will be a continuation of our lab time. And so we're going to be having some one-on-ones with the presenters. If you want to take advantage of those one-on-one times, I'll just wait. If you want to take advantage of those one-on-one times, we're going to invite you. It's going to be first come, first serve. First come, first serve. And so we'll have those sign-ups here coming up. So yes, one-on-ones for tomorrow are going to be first come, first serve. Without further ado, I'm going to invite Kevin Wilson to come on forward as he shares with us from his heart on digital missions.
All right. Hello. Happy Sabbath once again. How's the food? Good? All right, good. Good stuff. So I think we're going to go ahead and start. I want to talk to you about this. 5 paradigm shifts for Adventist digital storytellers in a secular age. But first, a story. It was a Sunday morning, and I'm sitting in the couch in San Diego, California, where I used to live about 3 years ago. And I'm sitting in the couch, and about a few feet from me was my cat Leo. And Leo, he's just like basking in the sunlight. Sunlight's coming through the windows, and he's just having a really good time. And I'm feeling bad because it's been 3 days since we took Leo to the vet. You see, Leo, my cat, has probably the worst breath in the entire world. I mean, the guy is so stinky that I think that maybe Advent Health found out about my cat. They would have used my cat to once and for all cure COVID-19. I mean, it's just his breath is so bad. I'm sure it has something in it, right? And so my wife is over here, and she's, we were wondering like, what is going on? So we took him to the vet, and the vet was basically telling us, hey, I'm so glad you bought this cat right now, because what's happening is his back teeth have been rotting for a long time. And so it's been decaying, and so that's why it was smelling so bad, right? And I'm feeling bad about this, and so I get up from my couch, and I walk towards my cat, and I try to pick him up from the floor. You see, cats are basically liquid. I think when you just hold a cat, you just know that they just kind of fall in, like they just. But maybe my cat is that. Maybe some other cats are like, don't touch me. You have those cats too. So I hold my cat. My Leo is so nice. He put his front paws on my left shoulder, and I hold his butt right here. And usually, what actually happens is he would come close, and he would lick my face. And I knew exactly what was going to happen, because Leo was going to lick my face, and I was going to throw up. Right? That was what typically happens. Like I choke, just a little bit. It comes out every time because it's so bad. But this time, he's moving his head a little closer, and I'm moving my head a little closer. He comes a little closer, and I go a little closer, and then go. And guess what? No smell. Yeah, just pure, wet cat love. It's just nice. And I'm thinking, it's like, man, as I'm holding him, I just realized that this is the longest, it's been a while since I've held my cat. Because I don't go and talk to this cat because this dude stinks so bad all the time. Right? We don't like stinky things, but especially if they are stinky people. Maybe because of their stinky beliefs. Maybe because of their stinky political affiliation. Maybe because of their stinky religious worldview. Maybe because of their stinky, whatever, how they identify themselves with. Maybe because of whatever they are. People, we don't like stinky people. So, as a way to kind of cope with the stinky quarantine, I decided, you know what? I am bored and everything is shut down. I need to kind of go, I just need to kind of create something. I've been creating content for a while. Since the time I was 13, I had a blog and then I had a YouTube channel. And so at the time, back in 2020, some of my youth basically was saying, yo, Pastor Kev, you need to get on TikTok. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to shake my butt. That's your calling. That's not mine. You do your thing. I'm going to stay in my lane, right? Because at the time, I thought that TikTok was just kids dancing around. So I was curious because every time a new platform comes around, I'm just excited. I'm like, oh, I'm very curious about what this is going to do. And so I got on the app. And after 2 hours of mindless scrolling, I'm just like, wait a second, this is crazy. And then I realized, man, the way the app is designed, it was just perfectly designed to actually be a really good vehicle for content distribution, at least at the time, because there was nothing like that. I thought this was maybe going to be like Vine, if you remember Vine, like short form video content. So I didn't think too much about it, but I was really impressed with how the thing was structured. And so I started to put devotional content. I started to put different things out there. And one day, I decided to basically document my chai making process. So I'm Sri Lankan. I was born and raised in Sri Lanka. I lived there till I was 18 years old, actually 12 years old, and then moved to the Middle East and lived there for a little bit, and I came to the States when I was 18 years old. And the one thing that I've kind of carried with me all my life is chai. It's been a beverage that's close to my family, and every time I make it, it just kind of reminds me of home. So I make it for my friends. I make it for other people who come home. But this time I decided to make it and then document the process through Instagram. At the time I had about less than 1,000 followers there because I was just using it for friends and family. And I took stories of it, Instagram stories. And so for TikTok, what I did, I actually screenshotted the stories. And I stitched it together in the app. And I took my whatever mic I had, and I just did a voiceover. And basically said, hey, are you sick and tired of chai tea lattes? Here's how you make the real thing. And I just made the video, and I put it on TikTok. Nothing happened for the next couple of hours, but after about 4 or 5 hours, I decided that my phone started to buzz like crazy. It was buzzing all the time. I was like, what is going on? And then I looked at my phone, and I was like, man, the notifications are blowing up right now. And the video was going viral. This was my first time, ever that I experienced going viral, and I'm just like, man, this is crazy. That was about 2.5 years ago. Now, we have a community close to about 500,000, about 500,000 people across different platforms. We are just all kind of centered around the idea of making chai and using chai as a meaningful practice in their lives, right? Because people start to ask questions, and I was answering a lot of questions. And eventually I realized that a lot of the people who were following me were non-Christians. People who would never step into a local church, people who are South Asian descent, people who were just like, I just want to learn how to make chai. But there was so many people who had no idea that I was a pastor. And so right now, in the community that we have, the Christians are the minority in my community. Adventists are the minority of minorities. So we have so many people, so many groups of people from all walks of life, all ways of expressing themselves, all in this community. And it's crazy. So I want to kind of share with you some principles, and I think it would help us, at least it would help me, has helped me, and hopefully it'll help you, as you think about how to have meaningful conversations with people who are quote-unquote secular. And in order to do that, we need to kind of define some terms first. Okay, let's talk about this. Like, what do we mean by digital storyteller? A digital storyteller is a person who, I think, uses digital media to bring narratives to life. Narratives meaning stories. So that's a digital storyteller. By the way, let me just say this before we get into this presentation. If you want to take notes on the presentation, take notes of these notes, but don't take the notes of the presentation itself, because at the end, I'm going to give all this for free. So don't have to take screenshots. don't have to take all of that. Just I want you to focus on the talk. So you'll get all of this actually and more at the end. Okay. So I just want you to think as you're processing these ideas, so that the Q&A time can be good. So digital storyteller, a person who uses digital media to bring narratives to life. But what do we mean by secular? You've heard the word before, right? Secular. Oh, that's secular. It's of the world. It's those people. Secularism. There's so many different ways of defining it, but for the sake of this conversation, we would say secular is a post-Christian, post-religious landscape marked by the contestability of belief. Ooh, okay. Some really interesting words here. Post-Christian, post-religious landscape marked by the contestability of belief. What do I mean by that? Raise your hands if you've been to an Indian buffet before. Okay, praise the Lord, right? Okay, good, nice. By the way, just a little fun fact. If you think that like if your Indian food experience is limited to the chicken tikka masala or the naan, all of that stuff, I would implore you to expand just a little bit, because there are South Indian restaurants which are goated, like they are amazing, way more than North Indian foods. That's my bias. So if you can look up on Yelp South Indian restaurant, you can find, if you're vegetarian, vegan, man, you're gonna have fun. It's amazing, great food. Okay, right. Okay, so that's done. Not sponsored at all, but we got this Indian buffet. Okay, so when you've gone to an Indian buffet, what happens? You take the plate, right? You start off at the line. You'll have your choice of carb, whether it's rice or naan or whatever. You put that on your plate. Then you're like, oh, wow, look at that curry, this curry. Okay, you put different things. And at the end of that experience, you have a plate full of amazing, delicious food. What I want to suggest to you today is that living in a quote-unquote secular world means that every single person here has a plate, and they are going around collecting different beliefs and putting it on their plate. So every person you meet, I'm not just talking about those people in the world. I'm talking about every single person, period. Christians, Adventists, everybody has a plate of beliefs. The plate can look mostly Adventist, but there might be some other things in there. The plate can look something else, but then there might be some small Adventist things in there. The point that I'm trying to make is, we don't have the luxury of categorizing people as secular and non-secular, because all of us, regardless of who we are living in this quote-unquote water or atmosphere of secularism. That's the world we live in right now. It's a post-Christian, landscape. Even though you might feel like some places in your life, in your neighborhood are very Christian or religious, as a whole in Western society, we've kind of moved past assuming that every other person that you meet have either a theistic worldview or a Christian worldview. Okay? And I really like this quote by James K. Smith, one of my favorite authors. I want to read this. It's pretty long, but it's really good. He describes what secularism looks like. He says, your secular neighbors aren't looking for answers, for some bit of information that is missing from their mental maps. To the contrary, they have completely different maps. You've realized that instead of nagging questions about God or the afterlife, your neighbors are oriented by all sorts of longings and projects and quests for significance. There doesn't seem to be missing anything from their lives. So you can't just come proclaiming the good news of a Jesus who fills their God-shaped hole, because they don't have any sense that the quote-unquote secular lives they've constructed, the webs of meaning that provide almost all the significance they need in their lives, though a lot hinges on that almost. Essentially, this guy, he's a sociologist, a Christian sociologist, and he basically says that you can't just come in and say, preach the gospel or preach Christianity, all the different things that you want to say, which is all good things, and that's why we're here, while assuming that the thing that we are giving them, they're going to immediately receive, because that's what they need. The point that he's saying is they don't even know what they need, or they already have a certain mental map, a certain kind of orientation of the good life. It's like saying this: if I were to come here and say, and do a digital missions lab weekend on Hinduism, and say, and that's all about Hinduism, and like we want to get other people to Hinduism, and if I were to come and do that right now, how many of you would be like, oh, I'm not really sure, because I'm already Adventist, I'm already Christian. That's what it means to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else. When you want to come and bring the gospel and the good news, even though that's what we're supposed to do, that's what we're called to do, but that's the kind of the thinking, the tweak that I want you to make as we go through this. Now, I'm going to share with you 5 paradigm shifts. I want to share with you 5, not too many, 5 shifts that I want you to make, I would encourage you to make as you are interacting with your quote-unquote secular people. Now, this principles, the way I've structured this, is so that it can be applicable to not just digital ministry, but just your day-to-day life. Okay? So, shift number 1. I think Christian Adventist storytellers need to make a shift from quality over mediocrity. We have to. It's high time. High time. Quality over mediocrity, because we are in a situation, we are in an unprecedented era. We have so much information at our fingertips. There's so much. You can Google whatever you want. Uncle Google is always there for you. Auntie Wikipedia, she's there. She'll never let you down. Maybe sometimes she does, right? But the thing is, it's there. If you want to Google it, there. So right now, the things that are going to stand out and come out are things that are good quality, that catch the attention of the eye, all that stuff. And yeah, when I say this, people might be like, okay, I don't know what to do. And that's probably why we're here. We're learning these, we're trying to learn how to do good work. But conceptually, this is a thing that we have to make. Quality over mediocrity. We have to make a shift from quality over mediocrity. Because here's the thing. They may not accept your theology, but they will stick around for your intentionality. They may not always agree with your theology, but they will stick around because you do good work. I have friends from what we have done so far online. There's friends from movie shows that I've seen as a kid. There's people who I have followed for a long time, and now we are like chatting over like DMs. And these are people who probably never step into a church, or maybe they have. But the reason why we're still friends is because we appreciate each other's craft. It's like we love what we do, and we learn from each other. And then they'll have questions about the Sabbath, because I talk about the Sabbath sometimes. They're like, yo, the Sabbath, I love that. Great idea. Great idea. Is it like a it's like a day, like a fast, like a detox? Like a soul detox? I was like, yeah, kind of. Yeah, it is. But that's kind of a religious foundation to it. There's a spiritual foundation to it. It's like, really? Tell me more. And we have conversations like that. Someone talked about like a 40-day fast, and then they said, oh, wow, it's like a 40-day detox. You know, it's like, well, different people have different ways of explaining it. But the point is that they will not accept, sometimes they might not accept your theology, but they'll stick around for your intentionality. Because I believe that excellence is evangelism. Excellence is evangelism. How you do anything is how you do everything. And the way if you put your work, if you put your effort into the thing that you do, whatever it is, whether it's chai making or underwater basket weaving or alligator comforter, whatever it is, like the excellence itself, the way you do it, can be evangelism. Right? Number 1. Number 2, we have to make a shift from creation over consumption. Creation over consumption. We talked about information abundance, right? Check this out. So, right now, this is 2021, so it's kind of dated information. The creator economy, I kind of talked about it today at the sermon. The creator economy is essentially sociologists are calling this time in which we live right now, where the primary sources of goods that's traded between entities, groups of people, is nothing but information. So the people who actually control the flow of information are some of the most powerful people in the world right now. So let's talk about Facebook, let's talk about Google, let's talk about all these people who handle and control and moderate social media algorithms. Very, very powerful people. So we're living in an creator economy. And so the creator economy is currently valued at $20 billion in 2021, but projected to reach $104 billion by 2022. Look at that jump. It's crazy. And over $800 million in venture capital is invested in creation ventures year after year, and it's only going to grow. Only going to grow. By the way, you have all these things in the end. And as of January 2022, 4.7 billion people consume content online. That's more than half the world's population. Out of this, now check this. This is what's crazy. 4.7 billion people, out of this, only 200 million are actively creating content for the platforms. That's less than 5% of creators. You know what that means? You know what a creator is according to this? Someone who just takes their phone, say something, and post an Instagram story. You're a creator. Congratulations. That is the bar. Yeah, wow. Yeah, exactly. Because we think creators, we think influencers, we think all that stuff is like, oh yeah, and we compare ourselves to people who have all these followers. But you are a creator. If you take your phone, say something, and post it, you're a creator. Congratulations. Less than 5% of them. Yeah. I love this quote. Martin Luther, the German reformer, Pastor Martin Luther, he was doing his thing one day at his church, and a cobbler comes to him. He says, Pastor Martin Luther, I have secular neighbors who are coming to my shop. This guy, he's secular. He does not believe in God. He does not want to, he just thinks that there's nothing out there. But he comes to my shoe shop. Pastor Martin, what can I do to reach this guy for Jesus? What can I do to reach him? There's a lot of things that I don't agree with Martin Luther, but I love this quote. It's a quote that I share all the time. You know what he says to the cobbler? He says this: the Christian shoemaker does his duty not by putting little crosses on the shoes, but by making good shoes. Because God is interested in good craftsmanship. Because God is interested in good craftsmanship. Of course, you would then go on to say, hey, this is if you want to go and have meaningful conversations, of course you will say if you want to have more directed conversations about the gospel and things like that, yeah, you can. But that's how he prefaced his answer. He basically says, make good shoes, bro. Whatever you're doing, whatever workplace you're at, do the best you can. Excellence is evangelism. Shift number 3. We're moving. We have to prioritize compassion over condemnation. We have to prioritize compassion over condemnation. One of my least favorite places to be on TikTok right now, and I just can't be honest with you. Can I be honest with you? This is a safe place, right? It's Christian TikTok. I said it. Because there are some people who come on there who they think that the best use of their 1 minute that they have is to look at the phone and say like why someone is going to go burn in hell. Yeah. They think that the 1 minute, that's all I have, to just add life to somebody, and you'll take that and be like, oh yeah, this theology is wrong. Let me react to this person. Let's tear this person down because the truth shall prevail. Bruh. And there are people who look at that stuff like, yes, amen, yes. And then there are people who's like, yo, this is why I left the church, bro. You know? And it's just so, and again, I'm not saying that everybody's like this. We have some really amazing Christian content creators. There are people here right now this weekend talking about those things. But I'm saying that there is this kind of tendency among a lot of Christian content creators who are like, you know, we have the truth, they don't have the truth, so let's just kind of double down and bring them the truth. And if they don't receive it, it's on them, it's not on me. Come on. I like this quote. Someone said, this author, draw a monster. Next question, why is it a monster? It's kind of like a thinky quote. It's basically saying, okay, first of all, draw a monster, so they will draw it. And then look at it and say, okay, why was that a monster and not something else? Basically going into exploring the assumption, the thinking that all of us have our own monsters in our mind. When we think about us and them, there are us people and then there's those people. Everybody has a those people, including myself. We have an us and we have a them, right? So we have to, as Christian content creators, as Adventist Christian content creators, we have to prioritize compassion over condemnation. We don't have the right to condemn people. That's not our job, and that leads to number 4. We have to prioritize connection over conversion. We have to prioritize connection over conversion. Why? Because conversion is not your business. When was it? Who does the sanctification? Who brings the people to clarity? We don't convert, bro. Listen, people change not because we want them to change. People change because they want to change. Because they choose. And we don't have, we can't go and force that thing on them, even if it's a good thing. Connection over conversion. So in my neck of the woods, I've always prioritized connection over conversion. Another way of putting it is prioritize description over prescription. Like where I'm describing things, I'm like sharing stories from my life. We're going to talk about a little bit of that in my breakout session, how to do more of that. But we have to prioritize connection over conversion. And one of the practical ways to do that is to answer the questions that they're already asking so that you can eventually earn the trust to answer the questions that they're not asking. So that's with chai. When the videos started to blow up, everybody had questions. Okay, what is this? Is it a powder? Is it a plant? Is it this? Is it that? What is chai? What is this? It's still everyday questions. How do you make this? Can you make an iced thing? Can you make it non-iced? I just answer questions, bro. And so I asked questions, I answered questions, and then I realized, you know what? I want to share a little bit more about my life. And I shared some stuff about my South Asian experience, what it means to be an immigrant in the United States, what it means to be a third culture kid, growing up in different parts of the world. I used chai as a canvas to share stories from my life. I'd make tea, and I'll talk about something in the background. That's literally what I do. And then there are people in the comments who are like, yo, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one. There's an equation here, which I didn't put in the slide here, but this is the equation. Art plus story equals trust. You can probably write that down, because it's not there. But art plus story equals trust. In other words, when you have your art, when you have your craft, and then you and you package that through your story. And by story, I don't mean like this big saga, but basically a narrative, something that you went through the day. It's like you're sharing something from the backdrop of your life. Art plus story is going to build trust with the people in your community. And at the end of the day, trust is the thing that's going to build that loyal community. And that's. You have to prioritize connection over conversion. Because here's the thing, if they can't connect with your humanity, they won't connect with your theology. If they can't connect with who you are as a human being, what makes you think that they want to believe what you believe? Even though we have the truth, even though we have all of the stuff that we think we have, the Sabbath, the second coming, the 144,000, whatever it is. You go down the line, all that stuff, beautiful things, all beautiful things, bro. But if they are not refracted through the beauty and the blessing that is your life, and it doesn't come out in the meaningful way, it doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter. Because in the end of the day, the proof of your belief is in your love for the people. And the burden and the blessing of Christianity is that we are not given the luxury of choosing who to love. It is both the burden and the beauty of Christianity. It's the burden and the beauty of the gospel. Last one is you have to prioritize conversations over Christianese. What do I mean by that? I think, again, this is specifically for people who are saying, you know what? I want to reach the secular people. I want to reach people who don't even care about Christianity. This is kind of my area. This is what I do in my neck of the woods. I have decided that the mission field that I have in my neck of the woods is just me making tea and meeting people where they are with a cup of chai, regardless of where they are and who they are and what they want. And if they have questions, I will be there to answer and lead them to more conversations. And so in order to do that, I've had to contextualize everything. Everything. How do you talk about the Sabbath without talking about the Sabbath? How do you talk about the second coming without talking about the second coming? How do you talk about all this? You have to think about language. You have to think about phrasing, because I don't want, my goal personally for me, in my corner of the world, is not to make Christians more super Christians. I want to, and there are people for me, there are people who are in the gaps between the church and religion. There are people in the gaps between spirituality and Adventism. There are people in the gaps all the times. And I'm called, I think, at this point in my life to actually be there in the bridge and kind of be there where people are, meet them where they are. And if you want to do that, if that's what you want to do, you have to prioritize conversations and think about how do we have a two-way dialogue when it comes to content. Are we building bridges, or are we building bunkers? Are we playing the long game of building bridges of trust between us and them, or are we playing the short game of building bunkers to protect us from them? When it comes to content, when it comes to ideas, when it comes to things that you want to share. We talked about description over prescription. another thing that I want to say is that if you're just talking about Jesus, I don't think you're talking about Jesus enough. Your entire life should be talking about it. How does the rest of your life speak? How does your life at work speak the gospel? How does your life as a parent preach the gospel? How does your life as a pastor preach the gospel? How does your life as, whatever you're doing, how does that? And so I have been exploring ways to bring the entirety of my life to the content so that they're not just seeing an isolated version of what just beliefs, but they want to see, I want them to see all of this. I want them to see the life, the whole of it. The good, bad, ugly, everything in between, right? And that's why I've tried to package principles and truths as stories, as narratives. And at this point, someone might say, Pastor Kevin, but we have to teach the truth. We have to, people are messing up. We have to kind of go and just tell them what they're doing wrong. We have to correct them. We have to correct them. Correction is a relational privilege. It's not a religious right. You got to earn that. How many people in your life you have given the permission to correct you, to keep you accountable for the stuff and the ratchetness that we do? Yeah, but for some reason we think that because we have the truth, we go and say stuff and we can correct them full well because it's the truth. And we isolate the truth from our lived experience. We can't do that anymore. We can't. We don't have the luxury of doing that anymore. Correction is a relational privilege, not a religious right. Ended with a story here. I got a DM on my Instagram, all caps. Are you Adventist? Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. And I said, on some days I are. Maybe. No, I said, yeah, I'm an Adventist pastor. And the next reply was, I am shocked, all caps, full stop. I was like, okay, yeah, me too. And she's like, I need to tell you something. So I'm going to send you a link. I want you to listen to this. And then she prefaced it by saying, I'm an ex-Adventist. I came across this podcast because it's the podcast that I listen to. And I was absolutely shocked that they mentioned an Adventist pastor in this podcast. But you might not want to listen to the whole thing because you're an Adventist pastor. So maybe skip to this timestamp and listen to it. I am going to listen to the whole episode. You best believe. Best believe. And so I take the phone, I clicked on the link. Took me to a Spotify, And as soon as I saw it, and I knew exactly why she said what she said. This podcast was run by two millennial women, Corey and Dara, who were self-proclaimed witches. They were dabbling in the occult, and there was 6 seasons of witchcraft, really. And every season, there's multiple sessions, multiple episodes, they talk about witchcraft and all that. And I'm getting nervous. Because what is an Adventist pastor doing in a podcast on the occult, on witchcraft? And I'm nervous, but I'm also excited, but I'm also nervous. So I listened to little bit of that in the beginning. I was like, wow, this is very different. This is very different from Sabbath school. Right? Very different stuff. It was really fascinating things. And I also realized that these witches, you think witches are Harry Potter, double, toil and trouble, put some different things. That's not. These guys were cool. They're talking about caring for the earth and Mother Nature and all these different things. I was like, wow, you guys are actually kind of nice, I should have told my mom, I was like, yo, why did you stop me from reading Harry Potter, bro? It's like, no. But anyhow, so I'm listening to this, and then I fast forward to the timestamp, and this is what I heard. Okay, and I hope the audio works, my guy. Let's see.
The other spark I have is a person that I actually found on TikTok, and he got very, very famous and he blew up everywhere, and he's amazing, and you should probably follow him on Instagram. His name is Kevin Wilson, and he is under the handle Cross Culture Christian, but he got famous on TikTok for making chai.
Ooh.
And you mentioned chai, and he uses chai as an allegory for all the things, for love, for forgiveness, for growth, for patience. He does the most amazing work taking this incredible drink that he makes a ritual out of, because you should. Chai invites you to make it a ritual. That's part of what makes it so delicious. And I think that he's incredible, and he's just like a really kind, amazing soul that you should probably just know. Anyway, Kevin Wilson, Cross Culture Christian, I love you. Your work is amazing. You're doing great things.
That's a witch. Just FYI. Just... So I sent them a DM. Say, hey, listen to your episode. Is there a way we can chat? I wanna thank you. Got a response back, all caps, OMG. I was like, no. He's like, wow, you responded this and that. I was like, no, I'm really thankful, and I was wondering, can we schedule a time if we can get on a Zoom? I just want to hear your story. So yeah, there we were, myself, screen, Corey, Dada. And then I just asked them, hey, why would you endorse the lifestyle of somebody who you disagree with by saying something like that? About like you actually affirming a pastor who probably doesn't share the same beliefs, which I don't, and like, but you knew that, but why would you say those things? And so they started to go on this story, and they were looking at each other. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go first? And they started the story. Basically, they grew up Christian. They were youth leaders at their local church, doing different things, and basically they were good friends. But I can't share too many things. But basically, there was stuff that went down in the church, and the church basically disfellowshipped them, but they were very, 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 very well liked by their community. And eventually, after so many attempts of trying to repair broken relationships with the congregation and all these different things, they said, you know what, this is just a place of trauma for us. And they found hope and healing in witchcraft. But then they started talking about Jesus. And that's when things got really trippy. Because the way they talked about Jesus was as if this Jesus was this amazing human being who was the epitome and the embodiment of everything that is good about being human. They talked about Jesus being this kind, awesome person, and all these different things. And we talked about Jesus. We talked about the Sabbath. They asked me, do you believe in people burning ever and ever in hell? I was like, no, I don't. That's not something that I believe. Really? It's like, yeah, it's different, if you're Adventist. Like, Adventist, what is that? You guys a cult like us? I was like, sometimes. But just kidding. No, don't record. No. I was like, no, we're not a cult. We're Christian, deeply Christian. We love Jesus and all this stuff. Right. We love Jesus and Vegemite. Like that's the other God that we have, right? And so, but basically, we talked about it, and then we talked about the Sabbath. We had a conversation. I talked about like, hey, the importance of taking a day off, and they were like, whoa, that's so cool. And so we are friends now on Instagram. Like we are friends, and they see all this stuff. Leo, the thing is, Leo stunk so bad. Talk about that, but I don't think he realized that he knew he stunk. Sometimes we don't realize some of the things that we say, and the way we say it can come across stinky. But then Paul says that we are the aroma of Christ. That's us. We are the fragrance. I'm getting goosebumps right now. We are the fragrance when we go into workplaces, when we go into your houses, your homes, your study, your schools, your marriages, that's what we're supposed to be. Supposed to smell good, bro. When you go online, we're supposed to smell good. What do they smell? Quality over mediocrity, creation over consumption, compassion over condemnation, connection over conversion, conversations over Christianities. So, thank you. Thank you. Praise God for everything. Yeah. So, this is it. So that whole thing, whole presentation is there. That's the first one. But then I'm also giving you this bonus. This is usually like a whole kind of session that I usually do otherwise in different places, but we don't have the time to do this one. But the session is going to be more specifically geared towards TikTok for my breakout session. But all of that stuff is there. Very important. Again, it's free. Just put 0 there. When the thing comes up, just put 0. If you want to pay something, you can. I don't want that. If you want, it's fine. But it's 0. Otherwise, it won't be free. And then you can go along with your day. But I guess I'm done. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you're blessed, again, just, let them know by hand clap again. We do want to take the time. Yes, thank you. Yes, let's do that. We do want to take the time. You do have your books. There's 5 questions in there. How would you define Christian content? Which shift do you resonate with and the most, and why? What shift would you add? So this requires them that they had to take notes now. Or then you have the slides. So yeah, you already got the slides. So he already had the shifts, but maybe we can put it back up on there for the students like me who need that. Thank you. Yeah. So which shift do you resonate with the most and why? What shifts would you add to the list? I.e., a shift from one thing to another thing. Examples of Christian. Yeah. So. And last one, what are the characteristics of Christian content that are also relevant to non-Christians? So you're going to be talking about that around your tables for the next few minutes, and then we'll come back to discuss it and get feedback on them before we go to our breakouts. All right? Good. If we start now, we can try and finish it. All right, so I know we've only had a limited amount of time, and you never have enough time to really talk this thing through. So we're going to go over the questions because we're going to go to the breakouts at 2:45, and Kevin needs the opportunity to be able to get set up for his breakout. So with that, we want to give him at least 5 minutes in between. So we're going to go to the questions now.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure how we do this. Do we start with the questions here? Is there anybody, let's just say, let's start, I guess, with the first question. Does anybody have a response to that first one? How do you define Christian content? What does that mean? Yeah.
Hold on. Whoa.
Oh. I guess now, after listening to your first, lab and presentation that we just went over, I would define Christian content as, excellence is evangelism, like you put it. So not necessarily getting on the phone or posting a video and not necessarily talking directly about God, because a lot of people's ears are closed immediately when they hear about God, because maybe they already have a broken relationship with Him, or maybe they have trauma from the last church they're in, or they just have a bad experience already. So the moment they hear that, they may already be like, okay, well, no, I'm not interested in this. So really, Christian content, I would say, would be best defined by the example that you give to others in whatever it is that you're doing.
What's your name, man?
Daniel.
Daniel, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, brother. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else have a thought? I think over there's...
Right. Hey.
Hey.
I'm going to jump off. This is really strong. I'm going to jump off of what he said a little bit. We were talking a little bit about it. It's like what I wrote down is any content that can uplift God. And like we were like digging more into it. Like it's kind of like you. When you walked up on stage, like the both of us, we were like he looks like that chai tea guy. That was us. Like, and I'm like instantly grabbing my phone out and I'm like, okay, wait. Is this him? Is this him? But like, it's like, oh my goodness, that's him. And then you're like, wait a second, he's in my church. Like mind blown, right? And in the end, like, your story, like, you have like a page that's like talking about your testimony, but your main thing is tea, right? And it's just like anything that you can use that can still uplift God. So like, it doesn't have to be, hey, sit down, listen to me. I'm gonna pray for you. Stop scrolling. I'm gonna tell you how you can be saved in 30 seconds. Like, it doesn't have to be that. It could be that, but like, there's more ways to branch out. So yeah, chill.
Thank you. What's your name?
Mimi.
Mimi? Okay. Wow. No, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think the idea, we don't have the luxury of like actually defining, like, okay, this is what Christian content looks like. Obviously, there are some core things to it. Like there's the belief that we believe that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior of our lives. We believe that Jesus is coming soon. We believe that there's a God who created us, and then there's all these different distinctives. But the way that comes across can look differently depending on how we are wired and what our passions are. Maybe we'll go through the next couple of questions. Which shift did you resonate with the most, and why? Anybody else has a thought there?
Oh, we have to keep going.
That's what I was writing right now.
Okay. Right. Anybody here? Daniel?
The hand?
Go ahead, man. Yeah.
Okay.
For the shift, we're talking about these right here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say compassion over condemnation. My father is actually a preacher in SDA Church, and he is much older than I am. So he comes from a much older generation. He's 70 now, and I'm only 21. So he had me at a older age than most people. But growing up, I grew up with very conservative views, and nothing wrong with conservative views, but I feel like I grew up with the idea and hearing so much about condemnation when I would then go and read for myself and read about compassion. And those were two ideas that were conflicting in my head. And throughout my life, and most especially my recent, young adult years, it was something that I misunderstood and I guess drove me away at some point. And what brought me back was compassion.
Wow. Thanks for sharing, bro. Thank you. Yep. Appreciate you.
The one that, yes, okay. For me, it's quality over mediocrity. Because sometimes we think because it's for God. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. People out there, they invest what they have to do the best for something that we call secular. But when we come from for God, no, God will understand. The gospel will reach no matter what. It will. And God will do miracles through it. But for God, we have to do our best.
Right.
For me, quality is important.
Love that. All of it. Yeah. Yep. Thank you, bro.
So mine is connection and conversion, because I am going to school for mass communications, broadcasting, everything under that umbrella. So basically, my goal that I wrote in like 2020 during high school, I didn't know how it's gonna resonate till now, till I actually saw it, was to connect with people and know their purpose and how they grow over time and spiritually, whatever the case may be. So I love having the connection with others, just to show that I care, to show them support and whatever the case may be, rather than doing like a problem solution type of thing, where it's like, oh, you need help with this, so here's this and this and this. Sometimes they just need to listen, or actually have someone to like hear them out. Because a lot of people like growing up probably don't even have the opportunity for others to listen to them, or problems or whatever the case may be. So when you connect that to spirituality, like connection with Jesus that you have, growing with what you know and what other people know can connect you even better than, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you so much. What's your name? T. Thank you for sharing that. T. Nice. Okay. All right. I think we have maybe time. Are we good on time? Maybe one more. Is there any questions that we? Is there a question that's that you want to answer? You didn't get a chance to answer. Anybody want to share their answer to that? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, with this, which one?
I just want to rewind
Rewind.
back to the first thing you were talking about here in the question and answer time. I think it's so important that we realize the power of what you said earlier this morning or this afternoon, where you talked about that we are the only image that can reflect how God has made us, because all of us here can just share something differently in our story, whether it be through what you're saying, whether it be through sharing how I can make the best haystacks in the world, or or just talk about how Jesus has changed my life. We need everyone that God has worked in their lives personally to share their story, because their story is going to reach people that other people cannot reach. So however it is that God is moving you, that's what we need to dive into.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to focus on that.
Right.
We don't have to be the same. We can do it all differently.
Exactly. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. That's so good. That is so good. Did also want to mention this point earlier that, you know, we're talking about empathy, we're talking about connection. Empathy does not mean endorsement. That's probably obvious to most of you. Empathy does not mean that we agree with everything that people say or do or act. That's not what it means. But empathy does mean that you're orienting our body and our mind to the other person, just to kind of listen to what they have to say, right? And it is totally okay, and it's very reasonable to hold the beliefs that you have, and still be an open person, right? And it's very hard to walk the balance, hard to walk the line. But again, all of us are wired differently. And thank you, Juan, for really summarizing that well. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we're going to be transitioning. At this point, we're going to be leaving this room. We're going to be going to the 4 breakout rooms of each of our presenters. You've heard them. Hopefully, you've had a chance to hear each and every one of them in their presentations. We thank them for their presentations, and now we're going to get a chance to be able to have a little longer time for them to kind of share, for them to kind of, you know, interact with you in the breakout rooms. So each one of them have been tasked, and both of them, and all of them have actually their own expertise. So we're going to start with Justin. Justin is going to be in the church library, which is just over this way, and he is going to be focusing on algorithms and, like, you know, the gaming the system, if you will. He'll be sharing on that. Then we also have Renella, who is going to be in the junior early teen room. We will direct you. It's just down this way and around the corner. She will be focusing on Instagram. So if you're interested in that platform, she'll be sharing on Instagram in her breakout. Kirk is going to be in the room next to hers, in the primary room. He's going to be focusing on YouTube. So if you're interested in that, you can be able to go with him there in that room. And then Kevin will be the only room that's going to be all the way on the other side of the church. It's the Alexandra and Jose's classroom. Anyway, I've called it the back of the stage classroom. It's over there. If you go through the sanctuary, actually, Pastor Juan is going to be directing the group who wants to be going with Kevin over there. It's going to be that way on the other side of the sanctuary. Kevin is going to be focusing on TikTok. So those are going to be the 4. And we're going to be having 2 rounds. So if you don't we're not going to have 4. So you have to pick which 2 you want to actually hear. And then just bear in mind, we do have opportunity for one-on-ones. They are first come, first serve. So if you don't get to hear the person you want to hear this evening, you can be able to jump in on the one-on-ones to speak with them on tomorrow morning. Okay? And so, yeah, we're going to be starting those at 2:45. All right. Thank you. Yes. Justin Koo in the church library on algorithms, gaming the system. All right, so just to repeat for those who didn't catch it the first time, Justin's going to be in the church library focusing on algorithms. Renella is going to be in the junior early teen room focusing on Instagram. Kirk is going to be in the primary room focusing on YouTube. And Kevin is going to be in the backstage room focusing on TikTok. All right? Yes.